Hello, everyone. This is Bhargav Hack joining you again to cover off on major issues across Asia Pacific and Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Today, it's 14th of July. We'll start off with East Asia Pacific. I'm handing it over to Uday.
Thanks, Bhargav. So in East Asia Pacific today, we covered 21 events, and the main assessed event was pro-Papuan demonstrations in Indonesia today. Now, on June 30th, Indonesia passed 3 laws that enable the creation of 3 new provinces in Papua. This has been a very controversial plan, and there have been a lot of protests and violence is expected. We actually did a special assessment on this recently, so you can reach out to us if you want access to that. Meanwhile, across Southeast Asia, in Indonesia also, the COVID-19 handling task force warned the public to remain vigilant because there's been a 6-fold rise in COVID-19 cases over the last month. Similarly, in Thailand and Bangkok, Bangkok Governor Chachart called on the public to wear face masks indoors and outdoors because of a rise in spread of COVID-19 cases. He also directed district offices to reopen isolation facilities. That's pretty much it from me for the East Asia Pacific region. Bhargav, over to you for South Asia.
Thank you. There in South Asia, there are 10 other developments and one assessed issue. Before I get into the assessed issue of Sri Lanka, there are 2 countries where there is an acute crisis brewing. And in one of those countries, things have gotten really worse. That's Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, things doesn't seem to be getting any better. Yesterday, the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, fled the country in a military aircraft, and it is said that he landed in Male, capital city of Maldives. Now, the president fled the scene as protesters were invading major government buildings, including residences of Prime Minister and the president. And there was a threat to the lives of the top leaders, including the president and prime minister. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's house was also burned down, as was Rajapaksa's. Uday, how do you see things evolving from here on? Of course, Ranil Wickremesinghe has been appointed acting president as per the procedures when the president is not in office.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting question, Bhargav. It's a very precarious situation at the moment. Protesters also want Ranil Wickremesinghe out, and they also want the complete removal of the Rajapaksas from power, which hasn't completely happened yet. So there still has been violence yesterday, and there were clashes also, and this is likely to continue. And Sri Lanka is in a precarious situation. I don't think there's an easy solution for its economic issues. So the expulsion of the Rajapaksas may ease tensions for the meanwhile, but the next government's position will not be stable either because of the economic crisis, Bhargav.
I must agree there. We need to note here that the economic crisis has gotten really worse. Their foreign exchange reserves are down to 500 million or so, and there is an acute shortage of food supplies and fuel. Government has imposed state of emergency, and they have reduced the services to a bare minimum. Schools, colleges, and other such services are also shut in favor of focusing on critical essential services. Now, military has also played a major part as they have to control the law and order situation. With state of emergency, they get special powers. They've taken over the radio station and the TV station of state-run entities as protesters barged into these institutions. Businesses specifically need to plan ahead and see where they need to be in the country. The economic situation is unlikely to get any better in the next 6 months or so. And Ranil Wickremesinghe does infuse some amount of confidence as he is a veteran politician. He has never been a president, but he has held prime ministerial office for nearly 5 or 6 times. I think this is his 6th time. And he is a conservative in the political spectrum. And he can be looked upon as a seasoned administrator, so to say. However, the situation right now is quite precarious. Unless there is a radical move, radical policy change on the economic front, and there is a helping hand internationally, it's unlikely to be unlikely to gain any positive outcome in the near future or in the medium term, for that matter. So Uday, with that, if we can move over to Pakistan. So in Pakistan, after Imran Khan lost power unceremoniously, Shahbaz Sharif government had a Herculean task of recovering the economy, which was going down Sri Lanka's way, if I can actually say that. But the situation in Pakistan is quite different. It's a economy which is probably 5 times as much as Sri Lanka. Now, Pakistan's economy is also far more diversified. They have mineral resources, they have service sector as well as manufacturing sector. But that doesn't seem to be helping Pakistan's economy at all, as their foreign exchange reserves have dwindled down to around $10 billion at the moment in terms of liquid cash availability for the central bank in Pakistan. Now, how will that reflect on the political landscape is a big question mark, especially with Imran Khan putting pressure on the current government, both at the provincial and the federal level. So Uday, how do you see things evolving in Pakistan for businesses, especially at the ground level?
Similarly to Sri Lanka, I think it's precarious at the moment. We have to remember that elections will be next year, and the current government, one of the reasons why Imran Khan was ousted out of power was his mismanagement of the economy. The current government has not been able to address the economic issues, and that could, there's already protests over inflation, load shedding in Sindh especially, and there's a lot going on, and the next few months will be quite the test for Pakistan to move forward. And especially in terms of the debt it owes to foreign countries like China, there's questions over the transparency of that and how that will play out also. Any thoughts, Bhargav?
Yes, Uday, we need to note here that this is not the first time Pakistan has been in economic trouble in the recent past. Probably 3 years ago, Imran Khan faced a similar situation, and he went to his buddies, that is Turkey, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Malaysia. Of course, we can't discount China, basically asking for favors and concessions on their debt, as well as some of the fuel credit line in fuel supply. And the situation is no better. I would expect Shahbaz Sharif to do something similar. One positive element here is that the Nawaz Sharif family, of course, Shahbaz Sharif being the younger brother, they are seasoned politicians, and they are known for their administrative acumen as well as economic acumen. They come from a business background, and I would expect them to be far more prudent with their budgeting and economic policies as compared to Imran Khan, who was seen more as pro-people, center-left, and pro-social social reforms as well as economic reforms that may have cost the exchequer quite a big sum. Now, Shahbaz Sharif government has increased the price of primary fuel such as gasoline or petrol, and it has crossed $1.8, and it used to be somewhere around 80 cents a liter. And that's an indicator of how conservative the government can be. So businesses need to ensure that they understand the ground realities with growing protests and economic pressure on the federal government.